So if you want to get a breakdown of Arthur Taylor's great solo on John Coltrane's Countdown, stay tuned. Welcome. Today we're going to take a look at the great Arthur Taylor, a phenomenal jazz drummer that everyone should get to hear and know. But before I get into it, make sure to hit the red subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you know every time I upload a new video. Arthur Taylor was born uptown in New York City, April 6, 1929, and he passed away, sadly, 2 months exactly before his 66th birthday on February 6, 1995. Arthur Taylor, his parents were Jamaican. I had to mention that because I was born in Jamaica, so I have a little affinity there. His dad was really into music. His family was really into music. His dad used to take him to see Chick Webb and Joe Jones all the time up at up in Harlem while they were up there. His sister was a classical pianist. Arthur started playing around 17 years old. You know, his mom bought him a drum set for Christmas, and by midwinter he was doing gigs. It was like that. They had a neighborhood band that he performed in. They did dances and parties and stuff. So in that band was Sonny Rollins, Jackie McLean, Kenny Drew, and Andy Kirk Jr. His first break with regards to recording was with Oscar Pettiford, and he describes how tough a session that was. Like, it was, you know, serious learning curve. It was the very first one. He was very nervous, and it's interesting to hear him admit that he had a hard time with it. Art Taylor has played on hundreds of records of the very best in jazz. His first big break as far as performing is concerned, like regular group, was Bud Powell's band. He would play regular tours and regular dates in clubs in New York and Europe. He also played on Miles Davis's Miles Ahead, and he was also part of Thelonious Monk's group for many years. There's a notable record that I love is Thelonious Monk Big Band at Town Hall. Check that one out. Arthur Taylor's all over it. Something about his playing that's really interesting is he has this really driving ride cymbal feel. I was hanging out in the Vanguard with, the Village Vanguard that is, with Greg Hutchinson, and he walked in, and Greg goes, "Oh, there's Mr. Ride Cymbal." At the time, I kind of got it, you know. I thought whatever, but as I grew to know more of Arthur Taylor's playing, I was like, oh yeah, for sure. It's not particularly unique in terms of the rhythm, but the feel he gets is so intense. That's probably why so many people hired him. He moved to Europe for around 20 years. Essentially, it was he got a really good gig, I think, at the Blue Note in Paris at that time. And things were so cool there that he decided to stay, and that lasted year after year after year. He kept a place in America, but he was in France for the most part for 17 to 20 years. You know, he looked at the racial turmoil that was going on in America and was like, I'm gonna stay here. I mean, I'm amazed that even more musicians didn't move over there, and a lot did. A lot of great jazz musicians moved over to Europe, to Sweden and France, all over Europe. He also stayed there, and you know, Arthur Taylor's an incredibly intellectual person. So he'd be hanging out with people like Langston Hughes and Jean-Paul Sartre, you know, it was like that. He also wrote a book called Notes and Tones, Musician to Musician. This book is a compilation of interviews of the greatest jazz musicians in the 20th century that he had a chance to hang with, and he hung with almost everybody. finally, before he passed away, he became a full-fledged band leader. It's something he resisted his whole life. You know, he just wanted to play with the very best, and he was able to make a great living doing it, and it was something he loved to do. He never really wanted the pressure of leading a group, but near the end, he did, lead this band called Taylor's Wailers, and he treated it sort of like how Art Blakey treated his band. He would find the best young musicians he could find and create something beautiful out of a cool band. So on this video, I am going to break down 4 elements of his classic solo at the beginning of John Coltrane's Countdown. Countdown is a really fast tune, and I've been mystified and flummoxed by it for years, until finally, only in the last few months, I decided to actually dig in and find out what's going on. I mean, the early part of my playing, I just didn't have the technique to even wrap my head around it. But once you look at what's happening, it's actually very straightforward and beautiful. The approach makes total sense, and it's very clear. So let's get to it. The first element is a fairly simple one, and I call it the paradiddle para. I couldn't really find an actual rudiment that the sticking corresponded with, so I have to call it that. Now, I might be wrong, but nonetheless, this is what I came up with. It's something that Arthur Taylor seems to have had ingrained into his vocabulary. I saw a really cool interview that he did with Warren Smith, the percussionist, in New York City, and Warren had him play a little bit of his signature ride cymbal, driving ride cymbal, and he did a little solo, and sure enough, he pulled out this little concept in that solo. So I was really tickled to see how much it was part of his playing. In any case, it's a paradiddle plus 2 extra notes, a 6-note group, an accent on the first note of the paradiddle, and then the last 2 notes, there's an accent, there's 2 accents as well. So it's a 6-note group. Here's what it sounds like. Okay, pretty simple. So up to tempo, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Real flourish there. It really has a smooth driving sound. Really great soloistic material, and it captures that bebop / hard bop sound that the likes of Art Blakey and Arthur Taylor and other great drummers sounded like. It seems to stem from a combination of Philly Joe Jones influence and Max Roach influence. The next element occurs at bar 17. And again, I feel like it was heavily influenced by Max Roach. Keeping in mind and remembering that Arthur Taylor was self-taught for at least half of his career, which is really remarkable. He would just check people out and learn that way by going to the clubs and hanging out, asking questions and watching. Okay, so here's the next element. Okay, then up to speed. It really seems to burn, right? It really feels good. The next element is a phrase that you often hear bebop drummers, again, like Charlie Persip, Art Blakey, and Philly Joe Jones as well, play this particular phrase. It kind of has a feeling of Latin music. It kind of feels like a mambo, except for it's embellished in a soloistic way with the snare drum. So I'll play it slow, and this is what it sounds like in the way that he uses it in the actual solo. Okay. One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, starts on beat 3 on that. It starts on beat 3. So I developed this sort of exercise that helps you to be able to shift the phrase into any part of the bar. In this case, I started it on the beat, and then I shifted over to beat 3 and keep repeating that over and over again. Of course, you could, start it on beat 2 or beat 4, counting out loud and practicing this phrase. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so you noticed in the 5th bar, that's sort of a neutral bar, just so that we can set up starting on beat 3 for the next phrase. Okay, that's a tricky phrase. Here's what it sounds like up to tempo. Okay, so it's kind of weird playing it just out of context like that. But in the middle of a solo, like everything's kind of moving, your chops are all greased up, if you will. So you kind of launch into it, and it sits. And the last element starts at bar 33, and I call it the "it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing" antecedent, right? And what I mean by that is there's a hemiola pattern that is inferred at the end of that classic song. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Boot up, 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 boot up. Right? That last section. So, that's all through not just jazz, but all through music, really. And it's exceptionally found in jazz, that hemiola pattern that people play a lot. It's something that you should get to know, and he plays it over 4 bars. So that would be 1, 2, 3. All right. Now the way he orchestrates it is like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Up to tempo. So I hope you enjoyed this very, very quick rundown of Arthur Taylor's solo on Countdown. I've been checking that solo out since I was like 16 years old and just marveled at it. And I was just like, wow, that is so fast. And it is fast. It's definitely a test of your chops, to say the least. It involves fast swing playing and just being able to cleanly play these very rudiment-oriented licks and fills of his solo. If you like this video, please like it and share it. You can reach me at aubreydrumlessons.com for more drumming information and to request online lessons. I give lessons on both Skype and Zoom. You can also get a hold of me and follow me on Instagram. So I really hope you enjoyed this very quick look and breakdown of Arthur Taylor's playing. He's a great drummer. He's played with so many amazing jazz musicians. He's made hundreds of records. So definitely an artist well worth checking and digging into further. All right, take care. Thanks for watching my video. Really glad you did that. Subscribe and click here if you want more performance and lesson videos.